Okay, thank you very much, Hartley. I'd like to call the meeting to order.
Recording in progress.
I would like to call the meeting to order for the Board of Selectmen at 12:02 on Friday, June 4th. Could I have a roll call, please?
Joe Shank present.
Chaz Sexton Duranian present.
Veronica Cal present. I just want to announce that the meeting is being recorded. It will be posted on YouTube and it is currently live on Channel 9. 1.3 Chairman's additions or deletions. I do have a few things that I would like to add and maybe just make clear as far as how these meetings are going. So I would like to add 5.1.4 Guardian IT to today's meeting. And I will handle things under 5.1.1 as far as security goes today. That's the only addition I have. I will say that to avoid revising the agendas, because the purpose of these meetings are for the Board of Selectmen to conduct business for the town collectively. And a lot of things come in on email, I think, to all three of us. And I've been putting some of these things under communications so that we all three as one know what it is that has come in to the Board of Selectmen. We are acting as a unit and we will take votes as we need to act on things. So I just want to make that clear under 5.3 announcements and communications. Emails are going to be brought up because it's not really meeting business, but it's the only way to do it in a timely fashion. And I'm sorry, I would have revised the agenda yet again, but I wasn't able to over the past day and a half. I just wasn't in a place where I could access the internet easily. So, all right, anything else to be added to the agenda, Chaz or Joe?
No.
I'm good.
All right. Okay, our next one is public comment period. I had requested that anybody that wanted to make a comment send me an email by close of business yesterday. I received only one. So if Kathy Spofford is here, you're welcome to make a statement. Okay, with that, I'm assuming that Kathy isn't here. So we will move on with the meeting. Let me just say that public comment period, we are not generally taking during our Monday, Wednesday, Friday conduct business meetings. We will have public comment as usual during the regular Tuesday evening meetings. And we do have one of those on Tuesday, June 8th coming up, also the 15th of June and the 29th of June. So just be aware of that. We aren't trying to block out anyone from speaking. We just need to get things done within the lunch hour for the Board of Selectmen. All right, we have no appointments and hearings, no appointments of officials or personnel, no meeting business as such. So we're moving on to the work session. 5.1 Town Administration Updates and Reports. So we had under 5.1.1 security of the buildings and files. And we can talk about this generically. I think that I would like to have a vote for anything that comes up between now and June 8th. But I would like to do is move this topic for a more in-depth discussion to executive session. Chaz and Joe, what I need to know is, would you prefer to have that on the June 8th agenda? We do already have 3 executive sessions on that agenda, but we can add a 4th to discuss the security of the buildings and the files going forward. So there is a purpose for that this would fall under, and we can get it on the agenda for Tuesday, or we can add an executive session to our Wednesday, June 9th. So
I would rather deal with this sooner rather than later, and I'd like Chief Sartell there as well.
I'm fine with that. Put it on the June 8th.
Okay, with that, I think I would like a motion to, should anything come up between now and our executive session on June 8th, I would like a motion that if it has to do with IT, that Chaz handles it. And if it has to do with the physical facility, that Joe is the one to contact. So do we have a motion?
I move that we move agenda item 5.1.1, security of buildings and files, to the June 8th meeting as an executive session. And in the interim, if there are issues that come up regarding this, as far as IT, that they'll be referred to myself. And if it is a facility issue, it needs to be referred to Joe Shank.
Is there a second? And could I have a roll call on the second?
Second?
Joe Shank, second?
No, Joe Shank, yeah.
All right, any further discussion? I have a question for Chief Sartell because I see you're on this meeting. Would you be able to join us for an executive session discussion on June 8th? It will probably be fairly late in the meeting time, like 8:30 p.m., maybe 9.
10, 11?
No, hopefully not that late, but I am pretty notorious for those late meetings. So what can I say?
Well, there's a lot to do. There's a lot to do. Yeah, I will. I'll pencil in. I don't see anything on my calendar. I'll be sure to attend.
Okay, thank you very much. We would appreciate your attendance. All right, so we need a vote. All those in favor, roll call vote, please.
Joe Shank, yes.
Chaz Sexton Duranian, yes.
Veronica Kell, yes, and I will get that executive session and repost a revised agenda by 4 p.m. today.
Excuse me,
Is
is there an incense burner over your right shoulder, Chaz? Because there's smoke I'm picking up on my screen behind that big plant.
Could you identify yourself, please?
Andrea Wood.
Oh, Andrea, thank you.
Andrea, I'm a therapist, and that is aroma for aromatherapy, but
fine.
thank you for.
You're welcome.
Maybe we all should have that.
Yes?
That's Andrea, it's called Tranquility today.
Oh, okay.
Right.
Next time my kitchen's on fire, I'll think of it as tranquility.
Okay.
I'm envious of the green. I'm not so sure I could keep those things alive.
All right, the one, I guess there's one more thing under 5.1.1 that perhaps we should talk about, and that was the boarding up of 142 Warren Road. That is going to our June 8th agenda as well, but was there anything further on that we should talk about?
Madam Chair, I did reach out to Shirley Coit, asking her in regards to some of the plywood that's in the municipal building. Unfortunately, they have plans for that, so they really can't let that go. So we will have to discuss that on Wednesday and decide how to go forward with deciding how we're going to get that.
Okay, so I will move the two estimates that Eric got into the folder for that discussion on June 8th then.
Is there a way that is our concern finding the funds to get this done? Because I am going to err on the caution of safety. If it's something that needs to be done, I feel that we need to get it done.
And I do believe it's something that really, as the chief said, that it really needs to be done. But I think that building's been that way for 15 years. But with the amount of, I think, traffic and complaints that they've had in there. I would rather, my opinion, wait till Tuesday night, because before I vote on who that's going to be, I have reached out to ethics. I want to make sure I make a vote on that of who that's going to be, that I don't get jammed up.
I understand the safety concern. I do think there is one, but there has been a safety concern for 15 years. And yeah, you can never predict when things are going to go south. We do have our finances meeting on Friday, and I know it's a small amount, but I will feel a little, and I did look at the BOS budget in that expense report that we were sent as a result of our Wednesday meeting. And I do think that there are funds that could be used for that. But I would like Joe to have his ethics opinion. So I'm good with holding off on this.
Okay.
until Tuesday.
Yep, I'm okay. All right.
So I think, I guess if it was we should have done that immediately on the inspection. If it was that much of a, serious, if it absolutely had to be done immediately, I would have thought that that would have happened when the inspection took place. And that was what, 3 weeks ago or so? So.
Well, I think what happened there, Madam Chair, is it kind of fell because it was brought to Mr. Kreidler's attention, and he told Eric and myself, just get it done and we'll worry about the funds later. But I think Eric was really, and I respect that, he didn't know where them funds were going to come from. So that's why this is drug out. And I think this is the right way to go.
Yeah, I can appreciate his concern because it wasn't in his budget. So, all right. So, so that will be finalized on June 8th, and hopefully work completed immediately after, should we vote that way. All right, 5.1.2, moving on, finances. What I have in the agenda is procurement of grants, review of bills to be paid, and extemporaneous expenses. So I'm going to bring up those files. I think the first one I want to discuss is the CDBG grant that needs to be extended so we can expend those funds as a town. That needs to be in really today. We received the mail from, okay, let me just, I had reached out to Adam on this to make sure that everything was okay. I had a concern, if you look through it, on the contract manager and the contract manager's email. So the contract manager is listed as the town administrator, and in his absence from Adam, and I'm sure he wouldn't mind, he said, well, I defer to you. I'm comfortable with Jim named in his capacity as town administrator only, which is what it is. And where Jim no longer holds the position, the contract manager is his successor, or in the interim, the selectman. So we are currently the successor to Jim. And so until an interim comes in, we don't want to keep changing that contract manager name. So it's Jim, or it defers to his successor, which for the moment is us, but eventually will be an interim person. So what we need on, otherwise the contract is fine. It's the same one that was in place prior. And with a vote of the board, for me to sign for the board, we can get that out and in place, which with DCHD to extend the expenditure of grant funds for the housing grant.
Very good.
So is there a motion for me to sign the contract for the extension of the CDBG funds?
I move that we allow the chairman of the Board of Selectmen, Ms. Kell, to be the successor to the named contract manager of the CBDG grant that was awarded to the town in 2018.
Second,
Could you give me the wording on that again, Chaz?
That we're allowing the chairman to the Board of Selectmen to sign the contract as I forgot your word, the successor to the
Nope.
named contract manager on the
As-
CBDG grant.
For the Board of Selectmen, as the Board of Selectmen will be the,
Correct.
not just me. Okay.
Correct.
All right. All right.
You would be signing for the Board of Selectmen.
Okay.
Yes.
Is there a second?
second,
Any further discussion on this? All right, all those in favor?
Joe Shank, yes.
Chad Sexton Duranian, yes.
Veronica Cal, yes. All right, I'll get that done and to Carolyn so that we can get that out today. After CDBG, I have several things here. One is the building department, the request for a laptop. And did all of you see that?
Mhm.
Apparently my understanding was that laptops were purchased for all employees in town with COVID CARES Act money last summer. Eric was not hired until around July of last year. And apparently he was not included in the purchase of laptops. So there is one laptop in the building department that is shared by all. By both the building commissioner and his assistant. And it would be nice if they had more. And I just saw in the chat from Jessica Funioli that actually this is a good way to get comments in, that not all employees received one. So I think one of the things we have to do is look at the CARES Act money and how it was spent, because if we do have additional funds, it would be good if all the employees, everybody should be able to work remotely. I think it's become very clear over the past year that that is something that is necessary. Even going forward, the pandemic has certainly subsided, but it isn't over. And it's not inconceivable that someone could be exposed and have to stay at home and could work remotely. So, if they're quarantined. So I would like to be able to have the Board of Selectmen review the laptops that were purchased through those funds and where they are located, and see if we can perhaps purchase more. I know that at least what I thought I understood was that there needs to be a report on CARES Act money by the end of the fiscal year, by the end of June. So perhaps in writing that report, we can find that information. So do I have a motion from the board for me to track down how the COVID funds were spent and how the report is going forward? And this is also something that we can speak with the DOR with on Monday.
I move that Veronica Kell review how the COVID funds were spent. More importantly, to look at what was spent and what needs to be put in the report for the end of June.
And can we add and spend further if that's available to us to ensure that employees who need a laptop have one?
And so amended.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second,
All right, any further discussion?
I also might I guess this wouldn't be part of the motion, but just, I guess, for FYI, with the talking with Guardian, when we get to 5.1.4, I'll add further in regards to how we need to continue with that as well.
Okay. Anything else? All right, so voting on the motion, all those in favor?
Joe Shank, yes.
Chad Sexton Duranian, yes?
Veronica Cal, yes. Thank you, and hopefully we can get laptops to those who need them. There may be
Thank you.
others besides Eric, it seems, so.
Yeah,
um,
and thank you for taking that on, Madam Chair.
You're welcome. All right, that was the building department. The other, I have two other mails in here from, and this can also, I'm putting it under finances because it pretty much fits there. One of them would be more under communications. But staffing at the senior center, it seems that, let me find my paper here, that there is a need for a little bit of temporary office help. And I spoke with Karen, and she feels that the it can be covered under the LRTA hours. And she also has some funds left in regular expenditures. So we can look at that for wages for what she would be doing is moving Donna Howard to doing a little bit of office work, a few hours of office work. So, and Donna is pretty much funded under the LRTA grant. She has other drivers who can help with the van driving in the interim. So I guess what I would like is a motion to permit this Karen at the senior center to reposition hours for office help as necessary while the staff person is out. And Chas, thank you for writing down all these motions as I'm talking.
Good job, Jazz.
Well, I guess I'll do the motion and then we can talk about it.
Okay.
I move to permit the COA director to reposition office hours from a grant employee to fit the hours that of their need because of the emergency.
Is there a second?
Second,
All right. Any further discussion?
It's not about this particular situation, but it just would be in general. I'm just wondering, I would like to be able to also invite the finance committee to some of these discussions as well. Is that part of, is that available to us or?
I wondered about that myself. And so I think I would like to wait until after the meeting on Monday morning to get a better handle of where we are with things. I certainly think that the finance committee should be involved going forward.
Mm-hmm.
But I think until the Board of Selectmen has a better handle on how the finances have been operating in town, that's just how I feel. I guess I can bring this one up now.
Well, the reason, Madam Chair, that I'm bringing this up at this juncture is that I know that the charter states that the finance committee is finished with their duties at the end of town meeting.
Mhm.
Is it this year?
It would have been at the end of the budget process at the end of town meeting in May for the fiscal year.
For the fiscal year. So what I'm saying is that, then we would need to make sure that we work with the moderator to get appointments done so that we then can bring on the finance committee. That's all I'm trying to get the.
We have under appointments, I think appointments is
You don't do that.
Monday, the positions, etc. I don't know who's talking. I would appreciate it if people muted themselves. I'm not sure who's talking at this point. I know that John Barrett sent Kathy a notice for a posting. I think there are 3 finance committee members that
Mhm.
need to be posted, and I know I put that on one of our meeting mails. Not today. It might be postings. I think we're discussing on Monday in our meeting. It's on the Monday agenda.
Okay.
So I would go forward with that until we have a fully seated finance committee. I would not.
Recording in progress.
Someone, I just heard recording in progress. I don't know where that came from.
That was a Cindy King posted that the BOS does not a finance committee, but we
No,
weren't-
we do not. We know that.
we know that.
We know that, but the postings come from John. And so we are not appointing the finance committee. If that somehow came out, Cindy, sorry. Yeah, at this point, no, I do think the finance committee, if I'm right in the charter, I'm not positive, that the finance committee is involved with the FY22 budget, anything there.
Correct. And my point in that is that if that is indeed we would need volunteers, or we need to, I want to make sure that we involve the finance committee is all set before we start engaging in those conversations. That's my point.
Well, I don't think the finance committee is involved with day-to-day expenses.
Mm-hmm.
I think their overall budget for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm not sure exactly how this fits with the transferring of hours to the senior center.
Okay, that's all I want to know.
That's my opinion. I can. Yes, the finance. Okay, so this is from Andrea Wood, and she's on finance. The finance committee does act transfers for the ATM after the ATM for reserve fund transfers and municipal transfers. Yes, they would
Right.
need to approve that
Yeah.
at the end of the fiscal year, so coming up. But beyond that, I don't think they're involved with, do we transfer hours to the office hours to a different employee
Okay.
in the senior center. So that would be within the scope of the budget that's already in place. And I believe typically the town administrator just approved on that, was the approval. So that's what I'm looking for here.
Okay.
It's just that. Any
So,
further discussion?
no.
All right, so we have a motion on the floor for the senior center, and I'm doing an abundance of caution on this to make sure that that I am not the one saying, yeah, do it, or Chaz or Joe or any single select person. This is a collective approval for the Council on Aging director to transfer funds as she sees fit within the grant funding that she has available.
Mm-hmm.
And that motion was seconded by me, Madam Chair.
All right, so all those in favor?
Joe Shank, yes.
Chaz Sexton Duranian, yes.
Veronica Kell, yes. All right. So while we're on it, town expenses, we do have that meeting on Monday. And I just wanted to go through the mail that I put in the box for you guys to see. I'm sorry I didn't get it until late last night, early this morning. I'm still a little jet lagged and off, but and I didn't get everything done until what was 3 a.m. Eastern time. So there are several, there will need to be a municipal relief transfer to cover bills that have not been paid by the town and that are not within certain budget line items. So currently, and I'm just going to read this out, 36,000 to IT is pending. The legal budget will be over by about 20K, 15K for unemployment, and some for streetlights, added into streetlights. And my lights just went out here.
How
So,
much? 4,000?
For the streetlights?
Yes.
It's 2,500, I would say 4 to 5,000 by the end.
All right.
So just so that people are aware of that.
So these
So
are
we're
the
looking at
municipal
about-
transfers that we need to make.
Correct?
Yep.
And we'll be discussing with DOR how to go about doing this without an accountant or a town administrator. So this doesn't need a vote. This is just under finances.
Okay.
Just
Hey, Matt.
finance statement.
I believe you're gonna be in that meeting on Monday.
I
And
am.
Will we have any discussion between the board is forward, or how are we gonna all be notified of that?
Don't I have on the agenda for Tuesday, do we have finances on that, on the June 8th agenda? Can one of you bring that up quickly?
Yep,
Yeah.
I'm looking.
If not, I'll add it because I'm putting out a revised agenda this afternoon for the executive session that we just added.
Finance, I don't see it on mine that I printed out.
Okay, so I'm going to add that as I think it's 4.7.
Well, we already have 4.7 road opening for connection, so.
Oh, okay, that was Tyler Road or Drive or something like that. Okay.
So
4.8 under meeting business, or do you want this under TA, town administration?
Town administration, I think.
Okay,
Okay.
so it'll be in section 5 under town administration.
Yep.
And I will report back.
Okay.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
No problem. Okay, so report back on meeting with DOR.
Thank you, Joe.
No problem.
All right. Sorry, I have to take notes so I don't lose all the things I have juggling. All right. Extemporaneous expenses. What haven't I? All right, the last one that I have here, that I have, and that was in the SharePoint, was the union retroactive payments
Mhm.
and the change of status forms for employees going forward. We do have under executive session, it appears that those contracts have not been signed yet, the agreements with all of the unions. So during our executive sessions on Tuesday, we will discuss that. But what I would like a vote on for this is giving me permission to go through the town administrator's files to look at everything that was put in place exactly for each individual employee, so that the treasurer can start to calculate the retroactive payments that we agreed to, that we have not signed to yet, but we did vote for them. And so that the town department heads can put in the change of status forms for their employees so that they can get paid at the new rate going forward in the new fiscal year. And so if you could put something in the chat, that would be great. If there's anybody that has a question on that. So what I would like to do is have a vote to allow me to do that for the Board of Selectmen, so that I can bring that information to our meeting on Tuesday as best I can. And also to confirm non-union rates of pay. So thank you, Chief Sartell. I think that's the case too. I'm not so sure. We have to look into what got signed and what has not been signed in that respect.
I think we all voted a while back to move forward with this. I'm just a little bit surprised that we haven't had all those documents in front of us to deal with this prior to this, but that's okay.
I believe those documents are there. I just don't think they were sent to us, the Board of Selectmen.
Right.
And as far as what was actually budgeted, I don't know who the 978-808-40 blah blah. Could you mute yourself, please? 4019. Please mute yourself. I believe that's who's beeping here. What we have is the budget was put in place for the salaries, and I had gone through them. I know that Jim sent me prior to, during the budget process, and I had gone through and confirmed what he had versus what I had. I just need to see what the finals were. That's all. So I don't have that in hand, and I would rather go with the figures that the town administrator was working on than the figures that I have. So.
Guys, make that motion.
I move to allow the chair to review the town administrator documents to compile retroactive payments to the union and confirm non-union payments per the vote from town meeting.
And also confirm the union, the salary for all union employees for FY22.
Right, so amended.
Thank you.
Second.
Any further discussion? All right, for the motion on the floor, all those in favor?
Joe Shank, yes.
Chad Sexton Duranian, yes.
Veronica Kell, yes. And let me just look at our SharePoint. I think that was the last thing that I had.
That's the last that's in SharePoint, yes.
Okay. Does anybody else have anything that has come forward to them in the matter of, oh, I do have one other thing, of finances, procurement, review of bills to be paid, extemporaneous expenses?
I do not.
I
Joe?
do not.
Nothing. Okay. Did we vote?
Yes.
All right. I guess what I want to say, sorry, there's just so much, and so many emails coming in. I think that what I would like to do going forward, because all three of us are getting emails from people about various things. What I would like you to do is put it under either, depending, and you can use your judgment on this, either under town administration updates and reports or communications. Those are the two places where I see things as being needed to be placed.
I agree with you. If it's a fiduciary, it should go under town administration. If it's non-fiduciary, it should go under communication.
Okay, that sounds good. So, and that way too, we can let Carolyn know, because things come into her as well.
Correct.
And it's been a little confusing over this past week to figure out where to put things and where to, and what to do so that we conduct the business of the town in the interim.
Mhm.
So fiduciary goes under town administration. And otherwise communication.
Yeah.
And it does become unwieldy for the town clerk's office to be doing revision after revision after revision. So I think people just have to understand that maybe what I'm going to do is put finances under town administration for every meeting, and then communication is just communications.
I was actually going to request that we can go forward having a recurring agenda item under administration. One can be finances,
Okay,
and another can be whether it be policy or procedure or however we want to word that under communication.
okay.
So, Madam Chair, I think we all may have just received just recently, a little bit ago, a letter from Karen Moore in regards to the tent. So I don't know exactly where that, how do we discuss that, or what do we do with that?
Okay, here's my answer to that. The tent goes under communication. The,
Okay.
because it's more of a policy procedure thing. The communication from her that had to do with the need for changing hours somewhat would go under fiduciary because it has a financial piece to it.
Yep.
So that would go under town administration. So does that make sense, Joe? So
Yep.
tent is actually, I haven't added it in yet because I didn't have it until today. That is going under communication for discussion later today.
Oh, all right, perfect.
Okay, so if you have it in front of you, Joe, if you want to bring that up when we get to communication, that would be great. So both of us, we, all of us, both of us, all three of us, we should, if these come in to you, put them in under, 5.1 point whatever. And I'll check that and get them into the agenda. I'm going to try to not revise the agenda for our Monday, Wednesday, Friday meetings within 48 hours of that, because it becomes unwieldy. It really does.
Okay.
So I appreciate that concern from the town clerk's office. So, all right. I guess the last thing I had, and I'll know more about this because this is one of the questions that I want to talk to DOR about, is procurement. We have right now an outstanding IRP for a request for proposal for the Shared Streets and Spaces grant. And we should be getting all proposals in by, all bids in by June 8th, which is Tuesday. And the opening of the bids is to occur on June 11th, which is Friday, I believe. So we just need to know as a board how to handle that and what we're going to do with procurement. So that is one of the questions that I'm going to be talking to the DOR folks about on Monday.
So do you want a motion for us to allow you to talk with the DOR in regards to that?
That might be a good idea. So just in general, doesn't have to be a specific, but procurement is one of the things.
I move that we allow the chair to talk to the MDOR in regards to our procurement process going forward.
Second.
Any further discussion? All right, vote on the motion. All those in favor?
Bill Shank, yes.
Chad Sexton Duranian, yes.
Veronica Cal, yes. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
DOR, discuss procurement. All right, and in that meeting, if there's anything that comes up, that because it's possible that it's probable that things are going to come into my head as we're having the discussion. If there is anything that requires a vote to act, I will bring that to our meeting on Tuesday, the 8th.
Okay.
All right. That's all I have under finances. Does anybody else have anything?
Mm-mm.
No? Okay, thank you. Moving on then to policies and procedures. I wanted to review the use of town council policy. That is up. I just want to say that is up on the Board of Selectmen page on the website under policies. So I would just request that all department heads, town employees, board chairs review that and follow that policy. We are the board, so if you have the need, and it's something that you would normally bring forward to Jim first, please notify the selectmen at selectmen@townsendma.gov or give one of us a call so that we can act on the policy. Encumbrances as well. Is that Chief Sartell? Is that a
Yeah,
question?
yeah, real quick. Where would I find the document that you just referenced?
It's under Board of Selectmen. So let me go to that page. If you go to the town website,
Yep.
And you go to Board of Selectmen, so under not departments, boards and committees. And I should probably bring that up as we're going. Under Selectmen Policies and Procedures on the upper left. Do you see that?
Yep.
It's one of those policies.
Okay, and the encumbrances commentary was generally around this time, we are asked by the town accountant to assemble a list of bills that we would have incurred in fiscal 21, but won't become in statements and in bills until fiscal 22. Our electric bill, it's the services through the end of June, but the bill doesn't come into July or August, so we normally encumber a few grand to cover those things. Normally, she's whipping us into shape, getting those figures in facts put together. I don't know what the timeline is for that as far as when it has to be done by, but I do know that if you don't do it, you can't pay bills from another fiscal year absent a town meeting vote.
Right.
So I know that that's something that she's really on top of at this time of year normally. So I just don't know the timeline, and I'm looking for guidance with that.
Okay, thanks. So hopefully on Monday, we'll have more answers to that question. So let me write that down.
You're gonna need to go on vacation.
Until
Never
we
again.
get one.
Never again. All right, so thank you, Chief.
I do want-
All right, so where am I at? All right, we've moved on to policies and procedures. Any further discussion on the use of town council policy?
No.
No.
Just real quick, Madam Chair, if I could, I've got a number of ongoing issues that are fluid and have been happening relatively recently. So I would imagine it's just full steam ahead if I access a new line of, or a new case or a new
Right,
issue that I would need to bring to your attention. But it's almost a daily contact thing for me at this point, and it will be on a number of more very, very fluid issues.
exactly. Anything ongoing in process remains ongoing in process. It's just going forward.
Yeah.
So
Thank you, Madam Chair.
you're welcome. And also for this unprecedented time, it'll be the interim TA that you will work with as you always have, but you should view us as the interim TA for now. So that's why I'm making that request.
Yeah, it's just that we have to log everything to make sure that it's all coming from one source, and we need to make sure that things are logged. It's not like we're trying to keep anybody away from anything. It's just that we need to make sure that we're all following the process that's been outlined by previous boards.
And has been, I am assuming, managed by the town administrator
Right.
up to this point, so.
Yeah, particularly where it comes to billable hours, it's nice for me to get a look at what you were billed for issues regarding the police department, because I can give you the yay or nay, or whether or not it's reasonable or unreasonable. Absent that information, I really can't help you. I interact with them quite a bit, and in billing in 15-minute inquiries, you can imagine is fairly costly. I'll work with a new interim town administrator to have some help, or provide him or her some help in seeing whether or not those bills are reasonable.
Right. Okay, thank you. All right. The other thing is the signature page for the Selectmen's Operating Policies and Procedures. We had already voted to sign on that. I don't know that that page has been signed yet. So I just wanted to point out that I would like the board to request that page, I know that this has already been voted on and has already been requested. So I will make that request again if it's all right with the two of you, so that we get that for signatures out on the warrant for next week.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, all right. Thank you. All right, we are moving on to then our added 5.1.4, the Guardian IT. I had a couple things under that, I believe, but I would defer to you, Chaz, to begin with.
I have had conversations with Guardian in regards to the current process that is followed by Town Hall. I basically have some concerns in regards to redundancy of in the way in which they're contacted for services through them. What I would ask the board is that any instances that need question, if they could come to one member, and I'm volunteering myself to be that member, to be able to streamline. So if Guardian needs to contact somebody, they would contact myself. And if I need to contact Guardian, then I would be the one that would be able to do that.
So, Joe, your thoughts on this?
Good with that. I think if Chad, he's very knowledgeable about that. And if he can put that in his daily, things to do, I'm fine. I support that 100%. I think a single point of contact with someone like Guardian is really important for them, because I've had some conversation with them, and I think if we can streamline it for them and streamline it for us, it would be much better.
All right, so is there a motion for Chaz to be the Board of Selectmen's contact with Guardian for the town services going for the immediate future?
Chaz, you
Is
want
there
me?
a motion?
I
Go ahead, Joe.
make a motion that we have Chaz Durrani Sexton as the point of contact with any issues or concerns with Guardian in the for the near future until we get ATA involved. Assistance.
And I'll second that.
All right, any further discussion? I guess I have one thing. I did have Guardian IT on the agenda for June 9th. I know that we put it on today because we needed to deal with this sooner rather than later. So I'm going to leave it on the agenda for June 9th.
Yes, please,
There be
because
anything further to discuss?
there is a lot to discuss, and I will bring all of that out at that point.
Okay, all right. So that said, the vote on the motion for Chaz to be the point of contact. All those in favor?
Bill Shank, yes.
Chad Sexton Durrani, yes.
Veronica Cal, yes.
Okay. Now, having said that, Madam Chair, with talking with the representative from Guardian, preliminarily, we both agreed that we need to be able to, or the help desk, I should say, should be able to streamline their requests that they're getting in. What Mr. Warren and I had agreed upon is that the smaller requests to the help desk, the individuals in Town Hall, if they do have a concern, they can still supply it to the help desk at Guardian, how they have been. If the request, as long as the request is not adding or deleting a username or access or any access to anybody, if the help desk identifies it as something a little more than a normal request, then they will escalate it to myself. So everybody has been doing as in regards to their request to the help desk. They do the same thing. They still email the help desk, and then I'll interface with the help desk if they have concerns in regards to the particular requests. Does that make sense with everybody?
Oh, yeah, that's good.
Makes sense to me.
Okay.
I think just in saying all this, I think it might be good if we held a meeting with staff at some point in the very near future,
Mhm.
so that they know how, with the department heads, so that
Yes.
they know how to go forward with things like this.
Yeah.
So a regular help desk request that is more than likely, my guess is, covered under the contract that we have
Correct.
with Guardian somehow is perfectly okay. It's when it takes more time on their part.
Right, and it's what, in our discussion is we just want to define what is above and beyond the normal help desk request. Can't log in, username's not working, that kind of stuff can be handled through the regular help desk request. Anything more than that, if it's going to go into what they call second level, then they'll be contacting me. Something that's going to be charging us more money, they're going to check with us first.
Okay, that seems reasonable. So, all right.
Okay.
But we should maybe I need to craft a memo to department heads to say,
I think
hey,
that would be, I think that and other procedures really need to be done.
okay,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
let me
Yeah.
work. Yeah. Okay, go ahead, Joe.
Well, I think, you walk through town hall, there's a lot of talk, a lot of people, department heads, employees, they're very confused as to what's going on. I truly feel either a work session or whatever, I think we have every department head come in, and I just think we need to go forward, at least have some kind of explanation as to what's going on, coming from us directly instead of secondhand, third hand. That would be up to you, Madam Chair, how you would like to do it, but I think we as a board owe the respect to the employee department heads to get to all their employees exactly where we're going.
Yep, I second that.
Okay, I would agree. I mean, it's only been a week and there's a lot we've learned in this week. So I think we're now at the point that we can plan something like that. So what I'll do is I'll work on the outline of a memo, which could become the outline for a agenda for a meeting with department heads.
Okay.
And we'll see if we can't schedule that within the next week for everyone.
Thank you.
That would be awesome. I think we owe them the respect to do that and appreciate doing that.
Okay, so thank you. Anything else under Guardian IT before we move on to section 5.2?
No, as long as we're keeping that on the June 9th, because there's other things that I want to bring up in that respect.
Okay, so I will leave that on June 9th, and I might broaden that to include a staff meeting time, date, that sort of thing. I'll check with Carolyn and see how things are normally done, and we'll go from there.
Okay.
So, all right, reports from board liaisons. I think I don't have anything right now other than what I've already said for the senior center. That was under mine at that point. Anything else?
No, I think we're moving forward. I know I've been talking with police chief and fire chief, and we are in the process of trying to get some things going with the communication center information. So hopefully we'll be able to get back on track on that as soon as council kind of steers us in the right direction. I did reach out to council yesterday to kind of see if we could expedite that to move it forward. So until now, that's all I really have to report.
Okay. Chaz, anything else?
I have a lot of the things that have been brought to my attention we're dealing with either indirectly or we've been talking about it in the agenda, i.e. the tent, over at the senior center, that kind of thing. So I don't have anything to add. I know that the only other outstanding that I remember is the rec center, but we are talking about that on the 8th. And I think that's all I have on my book for that.
On the rec center on the 8th, is that a joint appointment?
Yes.
Has the rec center posted for that?
I believe they have, yes.
Okay, all right.
To my understanding is I did say that, and I think the director over there said that she needed to do that before she went on vacation, so I believe it is.
Okay, all right, so I'll look at that. All right, so I think let's right now, and I did just, Joe, you have the communication with the senior center about the tent, correct?
Yes, I do. I have the last that just came in, yes. And I have been in contact, and I can explain this a little further, and we can decide what we'd like to do from there.
Okay, I just got this morning. So if you want to go ahead, Joe.
Well, let me, so all the board will know, I was confronted by Rob, the maintenance, the other day in regards to a tent that was installed and put up back in 2019 at the senior center. Evidently, a storm came up, blew the thing down, either improperly attached or not set up for the weight enough. It bent. He showed me some pictures of the tent all bent and all the poles. It did not go up last year. And then they've had some people, and I don't know exactly who has repaired it or done some repairs to some of the structural poles that were all bent. He was just very concerned about that. So he asked me what he should do. I said, well, I don't really know. They want him to set up. So I think the best thing that I could have done is I reached out to Adam to just ask him, how do we go forward with a tent that has blown over, had all types of poles and bracketry bent that have been repaired, but we don't know if they've been certified, where's the liability of this? Adam told me very clearly that we are not to have any of our employees install that. We do not have liability for that tent. We don't truly know who owns it. Rob told me he thought it was owned by or donated by the Friends of the Senior Center or Library to the town. But at this point, from council, he said that we shouldn't do it. I just got a communication, which we all did. I'll read it so we all are on the same page. It says, good morning. I have been made aware that in my absence, this was from Karen Moore. In my absence, there was some discussion about the liability of the senior center tent and whether it belongs to the Friends of the Seniors or the senior center. Attaches a letter from the Friends of the Senior Center in regards. Our summer program has been scheduled. With the use of the tent in mind, please advise so we can get the tent set up as soon as possible. Last spring, the Facility, Cemetery, and Parks Highway Department helped us put it up. Thank you. I don't have the letter. Well, I do have it, but it's so small I cannot read it. If anybody else can read it. But so with that said, I just, by all means, we want to be helpful to all our departments. But I guess the biggest concern council has is who really owns it? Where's the liability? And if that tent did get blown over, who's installing it and who's installing it that's certified to know that that thing doesn't ever get a windstorm like this again, taken airborne, a car going by, go through a windshield, or a person walking by, someone get killed. So for me, I think that's a great topic that we need to discuss and clarify before we move forward.
I guess for me, it's kind of already been clarified. If we don't have the liability insurance or liability coverage as the town, I don't think we can put the town in that position by saying, go forward and put it up. So, Chaz, your thoughts?
Council said they could put it up if they wanted to, but there's no liability there as far as he knows. So,
Okay, so maybe it needs a little bit more discussion and thought.
mhm.
I can appreciate them wanting to have the tent up for the programming. But it's kind of a use at your own risk situation.
Right, and if I also, I'm going to take the same line as town council. Town council is that, you know, if we do even remotely assist with putting that up, the town will be liable for that if anything happens.
Well, he made
So-
it clear that if it's the Friends of the Library Senior Center or whatever it is, that we, under law, we cannot have our employees whatsoever help install that tent.
Then I would go with town council's advice on that.
All right, so Joe, if you could send us the communication with Adam, if it's in writing. I don't know if it is or not.
No, we
Go
just
with-
talked. I can ask him to put it in writing and send it to us.
Yeah, I think if you could do that, that would be good.
Awesome, I will.
And we can let the senior center know that the tent is a no-go as far as us putting it up.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sensitive to the issue, but I am also more sensitive to the possible cost to the town if something did happen.
You know,
Thanks, Jane.
maybe we're all missing something here because it's just been kind of, yeah, let's do it, everyone. Maybe we do have liability. Maybe we do have to be able to help them, but there's no clear path that myself nor town council could see that we should do that.
Okay.
And I'll get council to send everybody an email per our conversation about it.
Yeah, that would be great. Thanks, Joe. Okay. All right, so that takes care of liaison reports. Moving on to announcements and communications. I did add something in there. There was an email that came, I believe, yesterday. We had a discussion in our March meeting, and Joe, you were on board then, so you might remember this. It was March 3rd, and I put that in. This is for how do we proceed as a town with requests from cannabis vendors of any sort.
Oh, yeah.
And we had at that time had discussions with Adam about what other towns do. And we responded to the vendor at that time. And I put the email in the that Jim sent to the vendor. I'll just read this part of it. In a discussion regarding cannabis businesses. So this is from March 3rd, 2021, from Jim to the vendor. In a discussion regarding cannabis businesses that may be interested in setting up operations in Townsend. The members of the Board of Selectmen in last night's meeting discussed their preference that appointments with the board regarding community host agreements or any other matters will not be scheduled or considered until after the applicant obtains all local permits. I hope that this information is of use to you. So I think that we need to respond to all vendor inquiries in the same manner. So what I am requesting is a vote to respond to the most recent vendor in the same manner as we did the others. Adam had at least in what I saw from him was like there are a few communities in towns and in communities or towns in the state of Massachusetts that have set up policies. I think Uxbridge is one and Arlington is another. And I believe I have copies of those somewhere from the March timeframe. he said that most towns have chosen to just go the local permitting route. And then once the vendor has initiated that process and it's clear that they will be going forward with it, that's the point at which you set up a community host agreement.
Mhm.
So, and there's also guidance in the state's policies. So that was the tack that we voted on at the time. I know, Chaz, you weren't on the board. So I just wanted to, I guess our policy would be to respond in exactly the same way as we did to the vendor in March.
Absolutely.
So is there a motion? And then we can discuss.
I move that we respond to the latest vendor in regards to their request, as we have in the past, that a request for a community host agreement must go through the application process first.
And I'd like to add to that motion that we have the chair send that letter out.
So amended.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, open for discussion.
Well, I think, I think we voted on it, you know, back in March. It was lengthy. We had that discussion. I think we move forward to keep it exactly how we voted it. And Chaz is now as a new member. If he has any different output or input, I would be happy to listen. But I think anybody that comes into the town, we're not saying they're not welcome. Just apply, go through all the processes and procedures and permitting, and we'll be happy to talk with them.
I have, just to give you a little background, Joe, I was on the planning board and I was an integral part of the writing the bylaws for that. And one of the hot topics, if you want to call it that, of many with this discussion, it was that the process needs to be established first. So I also was present in the March meeting when the discussion for that vendor was, and I am in agreement that we should follow the same process that we've outlined, that we have been following. It doesn't deter anybody. It just means that there's a process involved, and everybody should follow the same process, especially an application process. You know, this is, if this is what you want, this is the application process you need to follow.
So are you saying, Chaz, that we should set up maybe a letter in response to anyone's inquiries that includes the wording that was sent out in March?
Correct.
Okay, so, all right, so sounds reasonable.
So when any letter comes in or any request like this comes in going forward, this is a standard letter that we send out.
Okay, so I'll work on that letter with Carolyn. The two of us can work on that and bring it forward at one of our meetings next week for approval. Maybe we're going to go out with an email first to be quick about it, but then to have something in the future that's on letterhead, et cetera.
Yeah.
So
So,
we need to vote on this motion?
all those in favor of the motion as stated?
Bill Shank, yes.
Chaz Sexton Duranian, yes.
Veronica Cal, yes. Okay, the only other thing that I had, and I listed it because it came in early enough, was the Public Health Excellence Grant. That was just an FYI that came to us. And that's really something that the Board of Health deals with, or really Neshoba Board of Health, because they're the regional agency. So I just thought that because it came to me, I would put it, I didn't know if the two of you got it as well. So I just put it there for your information.
Okay. I did see that.
Yes.
I didn't have anything to add to that beyond. I figured that the Board of Health and or Neshoba Board of Health would be the ones that would be more pertinent with that.
Correct.
Yep.
No, I'm in agreement with that.
All right,
I do have another thing under communications.
okay.
We have, I have been very active with keeping up with the reopening of the state in regards to the COVID situation. It has been brought to my attention on a couple of occasions with my work outside of the town. Now it's kind of part of inside of the town. There are processes that are currently in place, i.e., if somebody applies for a permit through the planning board then has to hold a public hearing. In the public hearing, it has to be noticed out for a period of time. There are, to my knowledge, there are circumstances where they need to post and they need to put it in the newspaper. And the question is, do they post for a Zoom in the newspaper, or do they do it in person? And before I ask for anybody's question, my thought is that because it's not until June 15th, I would assume that any business is how they have been doing it virtually until the 15th. And then from the 15th going forward, it should be however the final decision is on the 15th.
All right, there was a, and where did I put that? I probably put it in the June 8th folder, the guidance that came from our town council on that.
Yep.
I believe I put it under whatever the number is for the agenda item on the 8th. And so in there, he provides guidance. I think that for now, I know I had seen one thing, I think from the CBA, and the hearing was later in June. So, it's a 2-week notice period. And so the anticipated hearing date was after June 8th. So I thought we would discuss all of this at that meeting. If you want, it would be a late addition, but I could put it on Monday's agenda instead of June 8th, but I thought it was something we should take up in a regular meeting.
I agree with you. So I'm just trying to provide some guidance for anybody. If they are going to post, we might suggest not to post until we have that meeting.
I think that would be fair. And
Okay.
anything that's posted as Zoom between, say, June 8th and what's 14 days, the 22nd.
Correct.
In that letter from Adam, he said those might need to be reconvened because they can't be Zoom after June 15th.
Right.
But it's also a fluid situation. So this could change even by Tuesday.
So herein lies the problem, or the concern. You have, if somebody is applying for an application, there, the clock is running under certain circumstances. So that's the conundrum that I'm seeing or foreseeing that is going to be an issue.
Okay, so what I would say is don't post anything Monday and Tuesday of next week. Wait until our discussion at the meeting on June 8th.
Okay.
And then we will have to go with whatever the deal is on June 8th as far as the governor's orders go.
Okay. All right.
And we'll go forward from there. But Adam, in his letter, does address, what if you posted on May 28th for something on June 15th or June 16th, and it was Zoom, what's 2 weeks before the 16th, the 2nd? So
Right.
that would have been Wednesday. If you've already posted for a June Zoom, that's after the 15th of the month, then you may need to reschedule those.
Right.
Because they cannot be Zoom from what I've seen. So
Right.
that also means that our meetings after the 15th, and maybe even the 15th, we can decide that on the 8th, will be in person, including these Wednesday meetings.
Yep.
If we're still having them.
And I've heard that there is some legislation going on right now that's going to be either voted to allow the communities to do either way, but it hasn't been voted on yet. That would free up. You could either do a Zoom or you could after that date just to make it easier, but I haven't heard the final outcome of that yet.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
There's a lot of juggling that's going on, Joe, in regards to that.
Mhm.
If my concern is that if one of our boards has to meet by a certain date because of the time frame that's involved in it, either are they able to reconvene in the timeframe extended to accommodate that? That's all I want to really clear up. And I'd sent out a letter to town council in regards to that as well. So I'm sure he's doing a little research. But as his opinion to us is, on a daily basis that's changing. So I'm only concerned of immediate things for any boards that are looking to schedule. So
Do you know of specific boards where that's the case? I think I got a chat here that says there is a department head meeting that was scheduled for either 10 or 11 on Tuesday, the 8th. Maybe we keep that. And I think if there is something specific, we can address those specifically. If someone contacts you to ask, for now, hold up until June 8th. Don't schedule anything until after.
Okay. And that would be planning, and I know that I've heard from the planning board about that. What question?
So, yeah, I did just see Jessica post that. If there's a department head meeting, that would normally be with Jim. How is that gonna go? How are we handling that? One person board going, or what are we doing?
I'm going to work up a memo this weekend that turns into an agenda, and I'll send it to you guys, and we can decide at our Monday meeting whether or not we can't really all be there, but whether or not we hold that meeting on the 8th, or whether we defer for a week, which might be the best thing to do, but not the timely thing to do. So,
Well,
we
we've definitely
consider that.
a lot of things on our plate. So whatever patience that some of the employees could have, and let us try to get a head above water and try to do the right thing for the community, would really be helpful for us.
Yeah, these are not public meetings,
Right.
but I think if all three of us show up, it would have to be.
Yep.
And so, or even two out of the three of us. So we're going to have to make some decisions on that. So,
Seem like the right person to be in those meetings.
pardon me?
I said, you seem to be the right person to be in those meetings.
Me or Chaz or you,
Chaz.
anyone.
Yeah,
But in any event, it would need to be agreed on by us. So we'll figure that out over the weekend. In my opinion, it would be good to hold it, but we might not have all the information we need, especially on things like the permitting process and public meetings, et cetera, until June 8th. So, all right, we'll discuss more on that on Monday, but look for a memo from me over the weekend with things
Tell
to.
us, go.
Joe, we just lost you, and as far as your face goes. Are you still there?
There he is.
Okay, there, you're back. All right. I'm looking here. I think that's all I had for today. Our next meeting for town business is June 7th, our working meeting for that. And our regular meeting is the evening of June 8th. And then, of course, next week we have a June 9th, Wednesday, noon meeting, and a Friday noon meeting. So, and we'll determine whether we're keeping the department head meeting on Tuesday coming up, or whether we're going to defer to the following week.
And are you able to take care of the bills payable while you're there?
Oh, I can, yeah.
Yes.
I'm here. I'm at town hall.
Yeah.
I will be at town hall for all of these meetings going forward.
Okay.
So,
I'll come in. Do we need both? We need two signatures. So Chaz, have you signed any of them yet?
It would be, that's why I wanted the chair to look at those, if she can take care of that.
I can sign, but for bills payable, we need a second signature.
Yep, there's
Okay.
that's what I'm saying. I think, Mr. Shank, you went in and signed?
No, I did not. I'll just say I went in and I looked at it and I had a couple of questions. I couldn't get the answers just because there wasn't anyone there that really could answer them. So I was just very lenient. So if you go in, Veronica, and you look at them, and if I had any questions, I would, you know, I don't know how to do it, but I had a couple concerns on some of the accounts payable, so I did not sign it.
Okay. All right, I'll take a look and we'll go
Right.
from there.
Well, if my signature is needed, if somebody could email me, I can go in.
All right, I'll let you know.
Okay.
I'll go in today, Chaz, and I'll go in and sign it today. I'll go up, I'll relook at it. If Veronica's looked at it and she didn't find any and she'd be more knowledgeable what maybe my concerns were, but I'm fine.
Okay, all right, so I am here at Town Hall and I will sign the bills payable. And we'll go from there. So Joe, if there are things that you need to sign, you should come in and sign it too, because we do need to.
Oh, well, I'll be there today. I'll be there in probably half an hour.
Okay, all right.
Madam Chair, I move that we adjourn.
Second,
There's a second? All right,
Second.
all those in favor of adjourning at 1:28 PM?
yes.
Chaz Sexton Duranian, yes.
Veronica Kell, yes. Thank you very much, everybody.
Everybody, good day.